Hey there. If you enjoy my work, please take a moment to like the video. I need your help if I'm going to resurrect this channel. Hello, Mr. X. My name is Josh. I'm a 24-year-old male living in the Philippines. This story isn't exactly my own. It was told to me by my father some years ago. The events transpired when I was only a small child. Back then, my family lived in the back country, where everyone knew everyone. We also had lots of relatives nearby. We all lived in the same group of neighborhoods. One day, my dad was outside in the backyard, just tending to some plants and minding his own business. Suddenly, he noticed an unusually large black bird perched in an old tree. The branches of that tree hung low, so my dad got an uncomfortably detailed look at the bird. He didn't think much of it at first, but there was something that felt off about the animal. He soon noticed what it was. Rather than the normal dark, glassy orbs, the bird's eyes were a deep red. Not glowing or anything like that, but more like they were fully bloodshot. The bird sat there, staring at him, returning his ponderous gaze just as intently as he watched it. My dad was unsettled, but soon got back to his work, got done watering and went inside. A few hours later, it was night. Dad went back outside to do some more work in the yard. Now, the way our houses were set up, there was sort of an alleyway with a fence that separated our house from the one next door. My dad was finishing up when he caught a glimpse of something small scurrying across the alleyway, making a splash in a puddle of water. Since we had a pet turtle at the time, Dad thought that maybe the turtle got out of its tank somehow and was trying to run off. He walked over to the dark alley and, upon closer inspection, found something he didn't expect. Something he said was out of place. It seemed to be a large crab of some kind. This wasn't a common sight in my area. A crab the size of a dinner plate. The strangest part was that, even in the low light coming from the back of our house, my dad could see the crab's eyes. They were the same deep, blood-red color of the blackbird he'd seen earlier. The crab stopped in its tracks and stared him down. That same intense glare from his encounter with the large bird. He quickly dropped what he was doing and went back inside the house, admittedly creeped out by yet another bizarre animal confrontation. The next day, Dad went to speak to the neighborhood elders about what he'd seen. They told him it was an Aswang. So, if you didn't know, stories of Aswang are all over the Philippines, especially out in rural areas. They're basically the Filipino equivalent of vampires of Western folklore. They're said to be shapeshifters who have a taste for human and animal entrails, but their most sought-after delicacy is the flesh of an unborn child. The legends have it that the Aswang would crawl around on rooftops at night, searching for pregnant women. However, when it found one, it would settle above the expectant mother as she slept, winding its freakishly long, prehensile tongue into her room by any opening it could find. It could squeeze its way into a cracked window or a hole in the roof. When it got in, it would suck the baby from her very womb. As it happened, on the day this alleged entity was seen near my home, my mother was pregnant with my little sister. One of the elders claimed he knew the Aswang had paid a visit to our house. I don't know how he knew this information, but he insisted that this particular Aswang wasn't trying to eat my sister. Rather, he said, it simply liked being around pregnant women because it found their aroma to be somehow intoxicating. That's super creepy. My dad said, although it was still creepy, he was a bit relieved that he wasn't dealing with a creature that wanted to harm his family. My sister was born without any problems, and we never heard from that creature again as far as I know. Thanks for listening, Mr. X. Josh. Imagine laying your head to rest each night, knowing a monster was lurking just outside your window. A monster that had a taste for the most vulnerable members of your family. I have to commend this young father for his fortitude. So I did some research on Aswangs and found some very interesting information that I believe informs this story quite a bit. It's said that some of these creatures can look like normal humans during the day, that unlike vampires, they can walk in the light without trouble. The thing that piqued my interest is the fact that they can blend in perfectly with humans, which means they can interact, have friendships, and conversations with people. It's also said that they typically do not harm those close to them, the people in their daytime life, though they are overtaken by an intense need to feed on flesh at night. They'll usually, allegedly, travel very far away from their home village in order to feed, and therefore they avoid suspicion and the possibility of harming their acquaintances. So that said, I feel pretty sure that based on this story that the elder who mysteriously knew that the Aswang didn't want to eat Josh's sister, but rather liked being around the pregnant mother because of the intoxicating aroma, super creepy and weird. That elder either was or probably knew the identity of the Aswang in question, or whoever was lurking around the house that night. Very interesting to think about, though. The name Aswang itself is said to be derived from the Sanskrit word asura, meaning demon. In my research, I read about 4 different types of Aswang. The Manananggal, I believe is how you call it, which means the remover in Tagalog, the language that they speak in the Philippines if you're not aware. That type of Aswang is basically a woman who appears to be normal during the day. However, when night falls, her torso detaches from her lower body and sprouts bat wings, and then she silently trolls the night skies in search of unborn fetuses, which is one of the most disturbing mental images I've ever put myself through. Imagining a normal woman, but nighttime comes and her entire upper body just detaches from the lower body, grows wings, and completely silently hunts for babies. That's insanely creepy and disgusting. Insane. So, let me know if you think that's as crazy as I think it is. So, the second type of Aswang is called the Tiktik, also sometimes known as the Wak Wak. 2 totally adorable names, which do not fit what it actually is. Giant humanoid crows that act as familiars to witches, so like servants or proxies for witches. This does seem a little bit similar to the one that Joshua's father described in the beginning of the story, the crow with the blood-red eyes. Apparently, this type of Aswang holds a normal-sized crow inside of its stomach for some reason, and apparently it cannot be stopped unless the smaller crow in the stomach is removed somehow. Good luck approaching a humanoid giant crow and trying to remove the regular-sized crow from its stomach. So the third type is called a busaw, I believe. It resembles a human in appearance and behavior, and these tend to steal and feast upon fresh corpses, they say. They're also said to stalk cemeteries, funerals, and even car accidents, waiting for an opportunity to steal flesh. Weird. The fourth type of Aswang is called the Bubu, which I knew a couple people called Bubu back in the day. This is an Aswang with bloodshot eyes, another similarity to the previous encounter. So looking back at this story, I wondered if there was more than one entity watching Joshua's family that day. Obviously, this is taking into account we're suspending disbelief and looking at the story for what it actually says. The similarities between the creatures described in the story and the various types of folklore that seem to suggest more than one creature might have been distinct there. I suppose I'll leave the question up to you. Do you believe in the Aswang? Let's see what the dreamers have to say tonight. Remember, if you want a chance to have your question or comment show up in a future video, or even a chance to sponsor a future video with a super chat, turn on notifications so that you can catch the live reading and discussion. Alright, let's get into the dreamer chat here. Ambar Chavez says, those are very cute, yet deceiving names. I definitely agree. Those names, Tiktik, Wak Wak, Bubu, sound like adorable. You would think that, oh yeah, the Tiktik is coming. You would think it's a giant kitten or a baby or something like that. Not something that's going to try to cut open your womb and, oh, no. Sans Serif says if they didn't exist before, through the idea of tulpas, they probably do now because of the internet. Tulpas, that's something I really want to talk about in the future. I just don't know really how I'm going to do it, because it's a fascinating idea. The idea that the human consciousness and the human mind is so powerful that if enough people believe in something or believe that something exists, that will actually bring it into existence. It's not something, it's not a belief that I really prescribe to. I don't really, obviously there's no evidence of that happening, but it's something that really fascinates me to think about. And honestly, I hope it's not real, because that would be terrible, because human beings think of some really messed up stuff, and I hope that we don't have the power to create things just by believing it. So Dark Phoenix says, when I was pregnant, my mom always told me to place a knife underneath my pillow or place a scissor underneath my bed so bad spirits wouldn't take my baby away. That's really interesting. Dark Phoenix, I wonder what your mother's heritage is and where that belief comes from. Let me know. Moon Goddess says, I worked with some labor and delivery RNs who put knives or scissors beneath the beds of laboring patients to cut the pain. Interesting. I don't know if that's like a superstition or what. Where did that occur, Moon Goddess? I'm curious. Okay, so I don't want anybody to be mad at me about today's code word, but the code word is Slurpee. If you're listening to this part of the video, let me know by working the word Slurpee into your comment. That way I know who the real dreamers are. Take care, my friends. Special thanks to this week's Super Chat sponsors: Ellie, Pete Hudson 44, Lori Long, Artie Facial, Master Panda, Mullem, Sleepy, Let's Read, Tariko Tomoso, Fear the Great White, Christy Hill, Ambar Chavez, Zen 2011, Brenda Whitehead, Leanne, and Jessica Bullock. Thank you all very, very much. All right. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to like and share. If you made it to the very end, you're exactly the kind of subscriber I'm looking for. Don't forget to turn on those notifications. That way, you can catch the live show and discuss the stories with me. Your input might even appear in my next video. Last thing, if you heard a code word after the story, type it in a comment down below so I know who the real dreamers are. Take care, my friend. Until next time.